What's up, y'all? Got another little impromptu, I don't know what I'm going to talk to you guys about episode. And this is the Hollywood is Dead podcast. I really try to make sure that I land on that whip. The little to hit that Hollywood is Dead podcast right there. It's the little things for me. It's really the little things, you know? What's going down? Man, this episode's coming way late in the week for me. You know, it's just one of those things that this week has been really kind of jam-packed as we are entering Tech Week on our Christmas play, the Cascade Christmas at the Cascade Theater in Redding, California. And I'm very, very, very excited about what we're doing. And if you're like, wow, Tyler, you sound like you're really pushing that. No, I always get like this kind of before we open up shows. Live theater is one of those things where it's there's so much going on, especially in a show this size. Musicals, I would say, kind of specifically, because you have dance numbers, you got songs, you have so many different moving parts that you can kind of get lost in the just the unknown of, you know, are we going to be able to pull this off? There's a lot of parallels with a production of this size and a feature film. You know, both features that I produced with my business partner Michael Ryan at Archetype Pictures have felt like that. There's so many moving parts, and it seems like there's just an insurmountable amount of work to do before that first day of shooting or the opening night, that it can seem really overwhelming but there's a beautiful thing that happens. I personally have a really charged drive to do the play justice, number one, to honor the writing, and to perform my little heart out and provide a service of entertainment for people that are coming from a long week, that are entering into what's going to be a long holiday season. And I just really want to provide them with an escape for a few hours. And it's just, I don't want to look like a jerk up there. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to look like I'm not trying. And I have all these little insecurities that happen when you're dealing with live theater. And I don't feel as crazy as I did when I was first starting out. You know, when you're first starting live theater, it's just this like, what am I doing? I'm a grown-ass man up on this stage in front of strangers and playing. I'm just playing. I'm every performer is so vulnerable in that moment that, you know, if you really think about it, it can be distracting. So I do my best to ground myself. I have a little mantra that I say to myself before I go on stage. It's, I'm here now. I'm where my 2 feet are. And anything beyond that has not happened. All of my preparation beforehand has occurred, and I know my shit, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do my absolute best. And it always seems to work out. Even when stuff goes wrong, it just always seems to work out. And that's kind of what I love about live theater. It's just this thing that that I just trust. I just trust the process of all of this stuff. And typically, you're surrounded by other people who also don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing, that also have put in a lot of work. And they're all very, 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 very capable. And, you know, so it's like, just for me, I just focus on what are my immediate responsibilities, and that is to control what is happening right here where my feet are right now. And that goes for, you know, I use that during productions, when I'm acting in front of camera. And yeah, it's just, it's worked for me really well. So if you needed anything like that, that's kind of what I do. But yeah, we are now thick into Tech Week. We have 1 week. We open 1 week from today. So I'll check back in with you guys next week and see if I'm still this calm. But we have so many rehearsals left, and, you know, we have so many rehearsals left. We've got, you know, all of our numbers dialed in. I've still got some cleanup work that I got to do on my songs and my dances. But all in all, the show's going to be really cool. So if you're in Redding, California, and you are available next week, 1 week from today, day after Thanksgiving, you'll be nice and fat and full of merriment and mead. No, nobody drinks mead. But I would encourage you to come out and support the theater. Just been a lot of work that goes into this thing, and it'd be great to fill up this auditorium. There's about 900 seats, which is crazy to me. That's so many people, and it will sell out. So come and check it out. I'm so excited. I have no idea what I'm going to talk to you guys about beyond that. So let's kind of figure it out together. This week, or last week, we watched a couple films. I watched The Killer on Netflix. And it just bugs me. I didn't like it. I did not like it. I thought it was boring. I thought it was slow. I thought it was one note. I thought that, you know, it's about a sniper. And I think if you are a sniper, I think it would really speak to you guys, you know. But I've never wanted to be a sniper. I don't necessarily care to listen to the inner dialogue of a sniper, and I don't particularly enjoy sitting in a room quietly as the sniper's waiting for his next kill. I don't know. And I don't know how to make it better. I'm not saying that I could do anything better to that, but I just didn't enjoy it. But yeah, you know, just kind of didn't really super, it didn't speak to me. That's all. That's the only movie I really watched this week. Big news though, in the actor world, and I guess in the industry world as a whole, is the fact that the actor strike came to an end, or so it seems. I know there's been some concerns about the the contract being ratified, primarily because they're kind of piecemealing. They're kind of rolling out the info on kind of slow, I guess, like kind of like slow rolling. And I think people are a little bit annoyed about that, because how are you supposed to vote on something and ratify it if you don't know what's in it? And that's kind of not totally cool. But here's some main points with the new contract. Let's see here. The minimum compensation increases. Performers will earn 7% wage increase effective immediately. That initial pay hike will be followed by a 4% increase in July of next year, and a 3.5% increase of July in 2025. So you're getting like a 14.5% pay increase. That's kind of cool. Background actors, stand-ins, photo doubles will immediately earn an 11% wage increase. That's sweet. And then they'll get 4% in 24 and 3.5% in 25. So that's a 18.5% increase. That's pretty good over the next few years. That's pretty good. You can make a decent living as a background actor. It's a great way to break into the industry as an actor, not crew. A lot of people, they're PAs, and on small little indie stuff with no pay to break into the film side, or I'm sorry, the production side. And I mean, that's hard. That's really hard. I did a few of those, and it's cool because in the moment you're kind of, hopefully you're young and, you don't have huge bills or anything like that. And you can afford to, take a shift off of your serving job or service industry job and go and work on a set and kind of get some set experience, which is totally cool. And I would encourage actors and performers to do that. Get on the production side as well. It's a little bit of a sacrifice to do that, but it's invaluable in the lessons that it'll teach you. It also teaches you that when you're acting, you're not a big shot. You're there to do a certain job that is, typically, unless you're Tom Cruise, not super physically demanding. And you're going to be sitting around a lot, and the crew is working their tails off. Crew work is hard. And if you've never done that before, I would encourage you to go and do and work whatever remedial job on a set that you can find, and you will quickly gain an appreciation for those around you that are putting together this world. And, I don't necessarily think that they're the unsung heroes, but they do not get the credit that they deserve, which I guess is the definition of an unsung hero. But still, you just need to everyone needs to treat everyone with respect on set. That's how you get brought back. That's how that's how you can climb the ranks a little bit, is being a team player. It's really difficult. So, but this is cool, that, the compensation's going up. I think when I was doing extras work, background work, oh yeah, I guess they don't call them extras anymore. They're background actors, which is fine. I was never offended when people called me extras, but I think when I was doing it, it was like $120 a day or something. So I'm not sure what it is today. I forget. we had a lot of background actors and doubles and stuff, but mainly the doubles were stunt. They were stunties, so that's a totally different pay scale, and because they're actually doing stunts, so and that's they're those guys are getting paid really well. But yeah, I think it was like $120 when I was doing it. But that was back in like 2004, 2005. So that was a long time ago. I got to do an episode of Las Vegas. I got to see James Caan like right up close. And they put me, so Las Vegas, I forget where it was filmed. It was at a studio. And so it was actually one of my very first studio experiences where I got to go to the soundstage. And in the soundstage, this was like in July. So it was super hot. I think it was in like Toluca Lake or something like that. And they had built a casino inside of the soundstage. And it was a full working casino. It had slots, it had craps tables, it had roulette tables. It looked and felt and smelt like a casino in Vegas. And it was July, where all of the background actors that are like casino workers were all wearing black, casino looking clothes. And I was a dealer at a craps table, and the waiting area was a tent. It was a white like event tent in the parking lot of this studio, and it was on asphalt. It was probably like, 95 degrees out, but in the tent, it was probably 110. They had fans and stuff, but it was so hot. It was so miserable. But so you're waiting out in this tent, and, the shoot day is probably 10 to 12 hours, something like that. And we're all just waiting out there reading books. This is before, like smartphones were, what they are today. And so I think I don't even know. I must have just been talking to someone the whole time, and which is, those are the days, right, where you actually had to sit and talk to people when you were waiting for something to happen. But it was just kind of awkward. I was also young. I was insecure about myself and didn't really know, what was going on. This is like one of my very first on-set experiences. And so, the AD was super intimidating. And the cute girls that were in, think about Vegas. They have girls that are dressed in like mini skirts and stuff. And the girls were all, cozying up to the AD, and he was handing out SAG vouchers to them. And I was like just dreaming of getting a SAG voucher. And because at that time, the SAG voucher was just the holy grail. And it still is, but it's yeah, it's so funny to think about. I haven't thought about that in a long time. But so we're all waiting out in this sauna, right? And we go into the studio space, the casino set, and James Caan, I guess, from what I've heard, at least on that set, was that James Caan sweat a lot in real life. Like he's like me, and he needed the stage to be really cool in order for him to not be sweating a lot. And so we walk in there, and it's got to be, like 68 degrees in there. So it's like a 50-degree swing. And we walk in, and it just felt so good. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then they're getting ready to roll cameras, and James Caan comes on set, and it was just like an acting god is standing right there in front of me. That was so cool. Josh Duhamel was there. There was a few other actors, actresses, And yeah, I had a brief exchange with one of the lead actresses. She was really sweet. I can't remember her name. She had red hair. And that was kind of cool. And so it was just a neat experience. But, really got me kind of salivating for that. I wanted more of that. I only did a few more background acting stuff, but nothing that big. But it just got me wanting to do more acting and see if I could ever get to that point. Haven't got to that point yet. But we'll see. I'm only 39. I just turned 39 this year. We're going to do it. We're going for the stars. So one of these days I'll be on that set again, a set in a studio. That'd be so cool. Except the camera's going to be pointed at me. We can all dream, and I encourage you to dream. But yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, it was super cool in that soundstage. I think we filmed for maybe 30 minutes that day where we were actually on set, and then the rest of the 12 hours we just sat in that tent outside. It was freaking hot. That's all I remember. So for like $120 for the day. So yeah, but get on set, pick up, go online and see if you can get some background work, because the pay went up significantly. It's almost a 20% increase. So that's pretty cool. It's got to be around $200 today then. Let's see here. So there's back to the SAG contract, some of the key elements that were updated. Streaming bonuses. The new contract calls for actors to earn a success payment along with the usual residual payments if they work on streaming projects that attract a significant number of viewers. So that's interesting, because that means that the streamers are going to have to be transparent about the number of viewers. And I'm not sure if they are already or not, but I think historically they've been pretty guarded about that information. The success metric is determined by the following formula. The total number of domestic streaming hours over the first 90 exhibition days is divided by the total runtime of the movie or television series episodes to determine domestic views. Oh, okay. So this is the formula. The total number of domestic streaming hours over the first 90 exhibition days is divided by the total runtime of the movie or television series episodes to determine domestic views. The success metric is calculated by dividing the domestic views by the total number of domestic subscribers. If the result is at least 0.2, a bonus is paid. Interesting. So they're not really giving up the number of viewers. This is kind of just an estimate. Except they will be streaming. They will be giving over the streaming hours. Interesting. 75% of any bonus money will go to the performer, with the remainder going into a new streaming payment distribution fund to compensate performers who work on streaming shows. Okay. I mean, it's something. That's cool. I mean, that could be fairly significant. Be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I think that was a big sticking point with a lot of actors, is like Netflix being guarded about their viewership and, how do residuals work with Netflix? Were they even paying residuals, or were they all basically just buyouts? Maybe someone who's worked on Netflix as an actor could chime in on that. Let me know. Official Hollywood is Dead on Instagram. Go ahead and DM me or whatever, and I'll include your answer in my stories. Little feature feature of people that want to interact with me. I would love that. Just drop a hey, what's up? And yeah, Netflix never paid me any residuals. Let's see here. Oh, this is interesting. See what happens if you just keep on reading. This is why you can't just read headlines. So the next breakdown here is disclosure of viewership stats. On high-budget streaming productions, streaming producers will be required to disclose the number of hours the content was streamed, both in the U.S. and Canada, and abroad for each quarter. That's intended to help actors determine if they're being fairly compensated relative to a show's distribution and popularity. That's if it's not a buyout, right? So, yeah, it seems like they'll be incentivized to just do buyouts with people. That's interesting. If they weren't already, because the buyout's going to be more. So let's say you worked for scale on a Netflix movie, and you're supposed to, through SAG, get residuals as things are, if a territory repurchases something, you're supposed to get a portion of that, because they can't just pay you once on the SAG scale, which is less than a buyout would be. And then that contract runs out in 5 years. And then they resell that same project that you were in, and they resell it to someone else, and they have to pay you a residual. But if they do a buyout, then they don't have to do any of that. So they pay more up front, but then, kind of works itself out in the end, and Netflix always wins. So I think this is meant to try and help the actors take a little bit of piece of the pie, because, these distributors, man, I'll tell you what, not a huge fan. So that's interesting. So they're going to have to disclose the total number of hours of the content that was streamed in the U.S. and Canada and abroad for each quarter. So a little bit of, they're going to be a little bit of accountability there, which is cool. That's great. Moving along, limits on artificial intelligence. Film and TV producers must obtain consent from actors to create and use their digital replicas, as well as specify how they intend to use that digital likeness. Actors are entitled to compensation at their usual rate for the number of days they would otherwise have been paid for to do the work being performed by a digital replica. I'm kind of torn on digital replicas, but I had a great idea. And this was before this stuff was coming along. But I was like, to create an agency that represented the digital replicas of actors. So that way, even if you were in a small production, you could have Brad Pitt in your movie for a fraction of the cost. But it's not gonna, right now, it's not gonna look good. But they have to establish these ground rules for this type of thing, because we're going to get to the uncanny valley, right? We're going to get there. Yeah. It's interesting because voices, I wonder about voices. So you could have a voiceover of Brad Pitt in your movie, or Morgan Freeman. And I wonder, I think that might be radio broadcasters. It might be a different union, but they're going to have to get on that. But man, I don't want to see a digital replica of anyone. I think it cheapens it. And this is my big issue with studio stuff. Big studios they're not going to be incentivized to make new stuff. They're not going to be incentivized to find the next Bruce Willis or the next, Tom Cruise or Daniel Day-Lewis, because they're just going to do replicas. And I can't fathom that succeeding. I don't think DDL would ever allow his replica to be in a movie. And I think for dead actors and dead performers, that they should stay dead. It really ruins a legacy. I do not want to see Marlon Brando in a new movie. I want to watch his old stuff and wish that there was a new movie with him in it. Really him. And maybe not towards the end, but you know what I mean. I want to remember them for the great works that they did. It's just going to water down legacies in a big way. But money speaks loud. And these people have families. They want to, make sure that everybody's set up for the future, which makes sense. And, they're dead. What do they care? It's mainly us mourning the loss of someone, but once you're gone, you're gone. So if your family's still making money on it, I guess it is what it is. So yeah, AI is going to be really interesting in filmmaking. I think this next item is super important, because the one place that I could absolutely justify using is digital replicas for background actors. Metahumans are a thing, and I think they're going to get better and better and better. And it's already used massively, but I think it's just going to get better and better, where you can have a slightly bokeh background actor behind your two leads that are in front of your camera. And, they could be 6 feet back, in a crowd, and you're going to be able to have not real people. You could just film it on a very controlled basis, and you'll be able to do that. And that's on, I would assume that's probably just on big projects, but even small projects, man, indie filmmakers, these tools are coming available, and it's going to be pretty insane. But let's read this next item that pertains to background actors and see if there's limits on the number of background actors. So, there is. So, minimum number of background actors. The new labor contract requires that an increased number of background actors be hired on union terms on the West Coast to equal the minimum number in New York. Under the new agreement, on TV shows in West Coast cities, 25 background actors, up from 22, will be covered by the contract. For feature films, the West Coast minimum jumps from 57 to 85. So if you're on a SAG ultra low, that means you can't use any digital replicas for background actors. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. But if you don't have, so on the West Coast, if you're shooting a movie, the minimum background actors is 85. So after 85, you could use digital, is what I'm reading that as. Which 57 was a lot. you know, I don't know that we had 57 background actors in our first one. So we didn't have any AI ones, but yeah, interesting. So, I mean, that secures, a decent amount of work for background actors. That's kind of cool. And again, I mean, it's just a great way to get on set, and get paid and witness the process and appreciate it. So, let's see here. Relocation bonuses. Performers in series who have to relocate for work will be entitled to a maximum relocation benefit of up to $5,000 a month for 6 months, a 200% increase on the previous amount. That's cool. I mean, good for them. I mean, that's 1% of SAG people. Not even. That's got to be 1% of 1%. If you're going up to Montana to film Yellowstone, and you're a series regular, then I guess you're going to be making $5,000 a month for 6 months. That's pretty good. $30,000 extra on top of your Schedule F or whatever it is. Yeah, that's nice. Good for you guys. I mean, it seems like it's really trying to get large studios to pony up. That's what it kind of feels like. I think they've been kind of holding out a little bit, or a lot of it. Probably a lot of it. Now let's see here. This is from Variety. SAG-AFTRA board members explain no votes. There should be no AI, in quotes. So let's see. 2 members of the SAG-AFTRA board said that they voted against the new contract because it does not do enough to protect actors against artificial intelligence. The negotiating committee unanimously approved the deal last Wednesday, ending the 118-day strike. The national board approved the deal on Friday with 86% of the weighted vote in favor and sent it to members for ratification. Sean Sharma and Anne-Marie Johnson were among at least 8 dissenters on the 80-member board. Both said that AI was key to their opposition, though they also had other reservations. Quotes, there should be no AI. Only human beings should be used in what we create for public consumption, Johnson said. Without staving off AI, everything we achieved is for naught. It's a waste of time. I think AI is inevitable. And, should huge studios be using AI? Probably not, because they can afford to make cinema that has real people in it. But these are gigantic corporations that have a bottom line. They have investors, they have stockholders, and all of those people want to see on quarterly reports an increase in revenue and an increase in profits. And how do you do that? You decrease your cost. And if you can decrease your cost on the bottom line, they're going to do it. They are a machine that really, cuts the fat off before frying, and they just don't want anything that's going to cause a flux in their stock prices. So they're definitely going to use AI. I think it's inevitable. I appreciate fighting, and somebody has to say it. There were 8 people on the 80 member board, so 10% didn't want this contract ratified because of AI. And I think they have to be dissenting of it. There has to be voices that are opposed to it, and kudos to them. Their colleagues probably looked at them and kind of nodded in agreement, but they were probably of the assumption that we have to take this deal, and it's a 3-year deal. It's not the be all end all. These strikes are probably going to be intense from here on out, really intense, because there's going to be an all-out attack on the below-the-line costs. There's already been an attack on above-the-line costs. So above the line is like, your big actors and stuff. That includes big actors, and they're making more money than they've probably ever made before. But at the same time, these shows are not hinging on the name of the big actor in the show or in the movie. It might be a director that for me, I pay attention to directors, voices that I am eager to consume, it's less about the movie star. And I think that's a huge reason why studio movies are kind of going downhill, because they're not taking chances on movie stars. They're not even taking chances on IP. They find one that works, and then they're just going to drain the hell out of it. So interesting. Let's see here. So yeah, it's a waste of time. Sharma, who also served as an alternate member of the negotiating committee, said he was concerned about significant loopholes in the AI language that left existential threats to some of our categories of work. Okay. SAG-AFTRA released an 18-page summary, which I have not read, of the agreement on Sunday. The deal establishes consent and compensation requirements for use of AI to generate digital doubles. See, that's what I'm talking about. But it does not prohibit AI, and it does relatively little to stop studios from training on actors' performances to create synthetic performers. Oh. So the AI is going to learn the body language of these actors. It's going to learn their mannerisms, But, Jeff Goldblum is Jeff Goldblum, and AI is going to learn how to do Jeff Goldblum. And that's just the way it is. It sucks. But it's like when Jeff Goldblum is done acting, I don't want him to be in another movie. As human beings, we can already. Here's a metric. CGI in movies. Now, there's some that really blend really well. Kubrick with 2001, he did in-camera CG stuff, which is like rear projection. That's still technically CG. It's generated imagery, and it's utilized in a seamless manner. Steven Spielberg, Jurassic Park. They used practicals, and then they used some CG. It's blended. The Killer recently uses CG in the worst way. There's moments where I'm just like, what were they thinking? Like, where does that money that they spent go on the screen? As an indie filmmaker, every penny that you have, you're trying to optimize to put it on the screen in front of the camera. And if you have to use CG, then do it in such a way that it's going to be blended, And this is how we're approaching the Dresden Sun. There's so much CG in the Dresden Sun, but there's also a lot of blended elements. We're not just shooting on a green screen and putting in a city in the background. And to me, the killer, that's how certain elements of the shots just looked horrible. There's a scene where he takes a pop shot at someone and hits them with this high caliber rifle, and the blood CG, it was not good, So here's the thing. I do not trust big studios with their CGI, Check out Lord of the Rings. Beautiful. They use so many different filmmaking tricks to make this, really wonderful world. They build this world, right? And a lot of it was real, practical locations and sets that they built, forced perspective to create the giant and the elves and the dwarves and stuff, and then you go to The Hobbit, and I never watched The Hobbit because I watched the trailer and I was like, I'm going to be so critical of this. I am not going to be able to enjoy it because they did not use the same filmmaking techniques. And I know for a fact I would just be sitting there and like rubbing my forehead in confusion and just like, why would you ruin something like this? So, but what and the tools are just going to be more and more accessible. And, for indie filmmakers, I think it's going to be really important to use CG. It's like, you got to make your films bigger, depending on the genre, if you're making a Terrence Malick, wheatfield movie, I call them wheatfield movies, like when they're walking through a wheat field and their hand is down and you have the sun front lighting, silhouetting the character as their hand goes through the wheat field. Yeah, I call them wheatfield movies. They all have that shot, right? If you're doing that, obviously CG is not going to be as utilized, but I do not trust Netflix with CG. I would never trust them with a synthetic person. An AI actor, it's going to look horrendous. It's just not going to work. Let's see here. So this particular contract does basically nothing to stop studios from training actresses' performance to create synthetic performers. If an AI-generated synthetic character has a recognizable facial feature of a real actor, and that actor's name was used in the prompt to generate that character, then the producer must get that actor's consent. I agree with that. God, could you imagine you just show up in some random terrible film and you just look like, what was that, 5 Days at Freddy's? Like a marionette doll, that would be even worse. I guess there's some creative ways that you could use, and they will, and I'm excited about that. Like, they just get creative. If it's a original idea and a voice with something to say, a perspective and the character, and it makes sense to have a synthetic actor in there, then that's cool. Like if there's talk about time travel, and it'd be kind of cool actually. It's like a movie where someone's traveling through time, but if you're basing it on real physics, time travel is very difficult to rationalize in my head. And I think the only way to really do it, or deep space travel, is to have an avatar of some sort. And your soul, your energy travels, because, there's no friction. Seems like there's no mass to our soul, right? And if there's no mass, there's no friction, then you can travel at the speed of light. And you're basically a photon. And so if you can travel the speed of light, then you could go further into space. And then you could be basically like joined up with an avatar, with your second body that is way out, and then you can carry on. I think that'd be kind of a cool idea. And it might be a synthetic person. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but there's got to be creative ways of doing stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, they're just really concerned that they didn't get protection on this stuff. Sharma goes on, if the replica doesn't give a clear impression that it's you, none of the protections apply. Yeah, but then it's not a replica. If they didn't put Brad Pitt's name into the prompt to generate a replica of Brad Pitt, but somehow they got Brad Pitt's replica in the movie, it wouldn't be him. Like, it wouldn't be his replica. There's people out there that look like Brad Pitt in real life, and they're in, I'm saying law of averages. It's like, it's got to have, it's somebody out there looks similar to Brad Pitt, and if they're an actor and they're in stuff, then yeah. There's a small filmmaker where I'm from that found an actor who's from, where is he from? I think his name is Kovacs. He's from like Turkey or Bulgaria, somewhere in the East, and he looks like a spitting image of Charles Bronson. And so this guy, he makes these really low budget kind of knockoff horror movies. And, he did a knockoff of Death Wish, and he had this guy in it. And he doesn't say a word because he doesn't speak English. But he looks exactly like Charles Bronson. So it's basically Charles Bronson in this film, being Charles Bronson in a movie that's basically Death Wish. And so, that the guy's basically a replica of Charles Bronson. And so, but you know what? Charles Bronson doesn't get compensated for that. This actor does. Well, I don't know about that. I have some issues with that filmmaker because of taking advantage of actors and stuff. But that's for another day. Let's see. So Duncan Crabtree Ireland, the executive director of SAG-AFTRA, acknowledged that the real deal is not perfect and that the union will have to keep fighting to get further protections in future contracts. The reality is, there's never been a time when we've been able to successfully just block technology from advancing. It's a very pragmatic way of thinking, Crabtree Island. That makes so much sense. And so strategically, our best option is to channel that technology in the best possible direction. Yeah, I mean, it's going to advance. It just is. These corporations are going to steamroll this thing because they see dollar signs, and that's really what they're after. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but it's good that the contract negotiations are over. Is it perfect? Seems like some people are, seems like there's kind of a divided Seems like there's kind of a divided consensus on that, but I don't know. I'm excited for the opportunity to go and audition for some stuff. I really am excited about the next 3 years. I want to try to get as many auditions and as much work as possible. And I appreciate you guys being on this journey with me. Yeah. Look at us. We got here. We're at the end of the episode. And we covered some ground. We got some good, I think some great insight onto the SAG stuff. You guys heard me kind of stressfully ranting about my play that's coming up that we open a week from today. And I'm going to keep you guys updated on that next week. Just very excited about, I'm really excited about next week as well. I have a special guest that is going to be in my studio here at Ground Zero Hollywood is Dead podcast studio. And he's going to be my first guest. And if you can guess who it is, I'm going to give you a shout out on the next episode with my guest. Very excited. It's going to be awesome. We got a lot of family and friends coming into town for Thanksgiving. And I'm just so excited about all of that. There's so much to do. So I'm going to get back to that. And yeah, I just really appreciate you guys being on this journey with me and reaching out and the support and asking, when's the next episode? And I promise you, I'm going to get onto a more, right now I'm just like, just get it out this week. Just get it out next week. Like, just get something out because, I get hung up on the details. I get hung up on wanting something to be perfect. And I'm far from the person that can make something perfect. And so then I just get stuck into this, analysis paralysis. So instead, sometimes I just got to walk in here, press record, and just go for it and see where it goes. And like usual, everything's going to be okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Talk to you next time. Bye.